Trigger warning for the moist people. Trigger warning for people who don't want to hear nothing positive about niggas they don't like. If you're a bitch ass, go ahead and cut it off. You know ain't nothing over here for you.
In a world of glitz and glam, flashing lights and screaming fans, most people are unaware of the war that rages behind the scenes. And that war includes your favorite artist and your favorite songs. This is The Dark Side of Songwriting. Hosted by Nayim Edwards.
Welcome to The Dark Side of Songwriting. My name is Nayim Edwards. I am your host. And today, listen, Chris Brown's career is never going to recover socially from the mistakes he made in his past. Unfortunately, we just live in this internet age where everybody play God. Everybody's going to continue to remind you about your mistakes. And people think until, let's be for real, until you are dead, justice is not served. Even though these niggas don't know nothing about law. These niggas don't know anything about being in society or whatever. They think they're doing the right thing by protecting a victim, but they're not. They don't know what they're doing. They just know they don't fucking like you and they don't want to see you no more. They think because they don't like you and you did something wrong or wrong by their standards that they don't like you. If you take a look back at Chris Brown's career, the funniest thing to me is how he continues to be punished over and over and over and over again, even a decade later or however long it's been since he started fucking up. Society continues to punish him. Unfortunately, this is something that's going to continue to happen until he dies. That's just, it is what it is. It's not going to change. Niggas is not going to bend and sway away from punishing him, because the first thing that comes to mind is people actually think they're helping somebody who has been victimized. They might not necessarily hate you, but they will learn to hate you because they love whoever you victimize so much. I think about Rihanna and Karrueche. Even if a bitch was in 100% of the wrong by putting her hands on somebody who she shouldn't have put her hands on, and the nigga gave her a 2-piece with a biscuit because you assaulted somebody's son, and the son said it's clobbering time, it doesn't matter if you was right. Niggas like her better than they like you, because in their mind they say you shouldn't have hit her no matter what, even if you was defending yourself. They don't give a fuck. Even with stalking Karrueche or whatever the fuck, or what they deemed as stalking. We don't know what was said behind the scenes, but all we see is a bitch who broke up with you or you don't want to be with, or you cheated with and then you got in a relationship with and kept cheating on. All we see is you following her around, you saying her name in songs, and her not coming back and saying nothing in public for your defense. People don't like this kind of stuff. And society is infectious. And so much so that when you do something, it's so funny. It's so infectious that when you do something, people might not even disagree with what you did. People might not even dislike you. But if they see that enough people are pushing against that, pushing back from that and saying we don't want nothing to do with that, they'll push back against it too, because they don't want to be seen as the outlier. They don't want to be seen as the person who is defending. That's why it's so crazy that Kelly Rowland is being attacked, and Kelly Rowland is coming out and saying, thank you for making good music. Thank you for what you've done for the culture. Thank you for keeping R&B alive and shit. And people push back against her. It's not necessarily that they dislike Kelly Rowland. They just don't like the fact that Kelly Rowland is standing with somebody that they don't like. A lot that happens way more than we actually speak about. That is more common than anything else. Societal pressures, peer pressures to say we all don't like them, so you shouldn't like them. Even if that's not our business. Even if they did something that didn't, like, the people who are involved have forgiven and moved on with their life. We have a problem with playing God, where we think we should just perpetually punish somebody for the shit that they did. if, especially if, but I understand why you would think somebody should be perpetually punished. However, if the parties that are involved is not making a big deal and they're not saying, I will never forgive, I will never, whatever, I will never get over it or whatever, then I don't believe that. I feel like you should step back from it. And that's just the God honest truth. You should step back from a situation where the other party is saying, I'm moving past that. I'm not worried about that no more. I've sought my counseling. I've done what I had to do, because all you think you're doing the right thing, but all you're doing is just continuing to bring up the cycle. How do you think motherfuckers feel when you keep bringing up probably one of the worst times of their life, one of the times in their life that they will never be able to really recover from in a way where they'll never be the same after that, even if they was wrong or even if they was whatever. Like, the internet is never going to let you forget your sins, even if when they turn the camera around, when they put the forward facing camera on, because a lot of motherfuckers do this. They don't never flip the camera around and show you what the fuck they living like, what they're fucking hoarder, and goddamn is infested in there, and it's a studio, and the bathroom is right beside the fucking stove, and every time they cook, they food smell like shit. People don't show you that. They want to be able to get on this internet and critique you, and get on this internet and say whatever the fuck they want to say about you without you having no pushback, and you just hang your head and walk away in shame, because they're trying to perpetuate some type of power that they don't have. The reason that he was not able to perform at the AMAs and they said, nigga, fuck you, is because they didn't want the smoke, because there's more people that hate Chris Brown than there's more people that love him. Chris Brown has a cult following. That is not going to change. And once you have your cult following, nigga, who gives a fuck about the AMAs? He can make his music for the rest of his life, do his shows for the rest of his life all over the planet. He gonna be rich forever. So whatever this gibberish a motherfucker talking about, it's nonsense. Who gives a fuck? But the AMAs, they rather not stand. They don't. I'm gonna tell you this: the American Music Awards does not give one iota, scintilla of a fuck about the background of a person, what a person did, if a person's a killer, murderer, rapist, robber, pedophile. They don't care about that. They care about people watching them, the ratings. People actually come out and be like, if you let Chris Brown perform, fuck you, I'll never watch this shit again. We'll boycott this shit. We'll come down to you know how people feel. It's not just one person saying, I don't like this. Them people in there don't give a fuck, bro. They running a business. They don't give a fuck who comes through the door. Is your money green? Nigga, I don't give a fuck about what you call yourself. Is you paying? Like, that's how these people feel there. They don't care. But when you got people that are in the audience, people that are at the audience at the house, people who might be there, already disrespecting the culture, really. Talk about, like, who else is going to do a Michael Jackson tribute if we being for real? But when you got the people in there who might say, yeah, I don't fuck with him. So if you don't, whatever, because Chris Brown is really, you don't need Chris Brown at your award show. He doesn't give a fuck. He has all the awards. He doesn't care. Like, it doesn't, that shit doesn't matter to him. But when everybody else is saying, I'm not going to show up if you let him perform. Why you letting him do a Chris Brown tribute? Why would you because no white artist can do a Chris Brown tribute. So it's like, they're saying to themselves, I'd rather take my chances than be bothered with Chris Brown coming here and it being a commotion and we getting boycotted and all of that. That shit ain't worth it. Chris Brown don't care about being there, and the AMAs didn't give a fuck about him having him there. That's why Kelly Rowland would have to come out and say something that more people should, again, for like the 100th time of me saying that. They just covering their own ass. They don't give a fuck about who performs the tribute. They don't even have to give the goddamn tribute. You know what I'm saying? That's not something that's necessary to them. But every mistake you make as an artist is going to follow you around forever. You might be able to duck and dodge, but for the most part, you're not. Because it's always going to be somebody, and this is the dark side, There's always going to be somebody there to remind you that you ain't shit. There's always going to be somebody there to remind you about the mistakes you made when you was trying to come up and learn. There's always going to be somebody there to remind you that, hey, I know you're doing the best you can now, and you're performing better than ever, and you giving people opportunities. But remember when you did XYZ, and that still bothered me, because if that was me, I would never fuck my opportunity. Mythological, fantastical situations that niggas put themselves in when they talking about something that don't have nothing to do with them. It's never going away. Like it'll never go away. It's never gonna die. He's never gonna be respected by the masses. As far as, I mean, let's talk about for a second. People are bullshitting when they say they want to separate the artist and they want to separate the art from the artist. There is no separating the artist from the art, because how did you get it? And I think I'm gonna talk about R. Kelly when I talk about that. We'll have to spin it back around. And speaking of the AMA shit, I got a episode. I'm looking. Maybe it's episode 5 for the Taylor Swift story. I think I'm on 3 right now. I'm gonna have to do it, but the people don't separate your art from your art. They think everything that come out your mouth is true. They think everything is exact and absolute. So all people remember is the bad. It's easier to remember the bad shit you did opposed to the good shit you did. Nobody cares about the good shit you do. They only care about what gives them that dopamine hit, what gives them that soda hit. If you recall me telling you what soda meant, the serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine, and the adrenaline hit. They want that. Like, they don't give a fuck. They want something exciting, especially from a situation where R&B gets just slammed into one thing. They don't break it down how they break down trap and lyricists and backpack and gangsters and goddamn college rap and all type of different type of underground and Houston and Memphis. They don't break R&B down like that. They just say singers. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he's just gonna have to learn. Like, realistically, Chris, you just gonna have to learn to deal with it and learn. And you probably don't give a fuck. Like, at this point in his life, he's been dealing with it for so long, it doesn't even motherfucking matter. Who gives a fuck? You know? Who fucking cares? Who cares? Like, he doesn't give a fuck. Nobody really gives a fuck. It's something to talk about so the masses don't attack. This is the dark side of songwriting. My name is Nayim. I will holler at you.